Welcome. Oh, my tits are just there. That's welcome to the commentary series. Um, how do I start this? My name's Elise. I'm the director. I'm from. At the moment, I'm not a presenter. I'm just take me as a director because that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Just my experience making the whole thing and editing and kind of doing it all. So. Perhaps a little bit more of a serious tone for these, but I really want to sort of. I mean, I don't know. At this stage in production, it's just finished and it's just about to come out. And before it comes out, I'm recording this so that I can show you like how I made it. And it's weird because I don't know how it's going to be received, and I'm really hoping that people will laugh at it as much as I've laughed at it or with it in my head. And so I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy it. And I really hope that some of you have enjoyed it so much that you actually cared to watch this video and think, oh my God, how did she do any of this? Well, here I am. So the very first thing I did, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. The very first thing I did on the show was make the opening credits, and it was like a couple of years ago that I decided on a whim after a bad breakup to buy a typewriter, and my typewriter has since been my best friend. Literally, I'm not using it in the credits for some pseudo fake stuff where I'm like, ooh, look at me, I use a typewriter. No, I typed the whole script on that thing. That was my way of writing the middle of nowhere. So the opening credits for me was a way of saying like, look, this is how I'm writing the show. This is the opening credits are meant to, for me, represent the meta commentary of, look, I'm literally writing this and I have no idea what I'm doing and making it up as I go along. And you can see at some stage, you can see me concentrating on writing it, but you can also see me looking at the camera and moving the camera. And I wanted that meta commentary to come in because I knew that throughout the series, I would be addressing my audience in a way where I'm like, look, I'm making this thing on my own, and this is actually kind of tough, and this is kind of difficult because I've got nobody to rely on. Um, so I think I did well in that regard. And as I said, it's the earliest footage. The music done by Peter Norris, who is I'm just very glad I met him. I'm not going to lie. Incredible friend, and I'm super happy with how this turned out. I literally was like, I need some sort of background because I was very inspired by Doctor Who, and I was like, I really want this sort of Doctor Who-esque background where there's oil and water and it doesn't mix together. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I really stumbled across the kaleidoscope effect. I really wanted that, so I bought one and I literally shone my camera through it, and that's what you're seeing. But not only did I shine my camera through the kaleidoscope, I went in with the editor and I was like, right, I'm gonna use the kaleidoscope, create my own kaleidoscope effect onto already what is a kaleidoscope, so it's even more kaleidoscopy. And in that vein, I think we're done. The very last thing I just want to talk about the credits is that you'll see some objects being used, like obviously the portal gun, which I did not know was going to be the portal gun at that moment. I was just messing around with it. I really didn't know what to expect from the first episode to the last episode, what was really going to happen. You can see the pipe that was used in episode 4, Magpie Mine, and then you've obviously got this is one of the when I went back to the Roman Empire in episode 5, I think it is, or 6, when I go back to Hadrian's Wall, and one of the guards, I stumble across one of the Roman Empire's guards. He's actually wearing this, and this is one clip that actually I filmed all of them, and then I went back and I was like, oh, I really, really want to add some stuff in where I'm like, oh, actually, I wanted to, how do I say this? I wanted to reference the show a little bit more, so I went back and filmed this frame, literally this one frame, like um, 3 to 6 months later when I'd done that episode, and I was like, oh, I really want to reference just this little baby right here, this necklace to that episode. I think I already had the pipe hanging around my room. So this being the first clip means so much to me, and every time I walk past this little section I'm like, oh my god. This is obviously in Sheffield, because Sheffield's an incredible place, and as you can see, look at our streets, look at all these boards over the windows and the graffiti. How could you not love it? Look at this brick that's fallen off. I mean, how could you not love this? As an opening shot, I thought, this is just perfect. And this has now since become a little restaurant that refers to the graffiti that was once all over it. So I think that's really cool.
Some say it's a work of art. Some say it's a menace to society.
I'll just turn it down.
Either way, humans do it.
So as I'm like writing this, I say writing, I'm not really writing it. Well, the first 2 episodes, I thought this is going to be a really difficult task to make this series. And I know, I was like, I want it to be at least 4 episodes to 6 episodes long. And that's all I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down the facts and just treat it like a nice day out, with my then boyfriend, who tagged along, who was, like, oh yeah, sure, I'll film our day out. And literally we just spent a day, the first 2 episodes, it was just like, okay, we're just going to go someplace and I'm going to write the facts down. I'm going to make it up as I go along, and you're just going to take as much footage of me as possible. We're just going to have fun with it, because that was like the goal. And one of the things that I really wanted it to look like was just 2 kids having fun. There was a big thing for me where I was like, God, like most documentaries, and certainly documentaries that I have been doing, have not felt exciting. And legitimately, perhaps what even started this series was just boredom of what I was doing, because I was doing a YouTube video once a week. And all of a sudden, I was like, right, especially with this shot, right, jumping into it. That's something I just hadn't done before. It was a huge revelation. It seems so simple. She's just going to jump right in. And then here with the meta commentary about the coat, it was like you can see that I was making mistakes of, no continuity. And it was addressing that. There you go with the coat. It was like facing forward into the show, like leaning into the mistakes and really praising my own mistakes at this point, because I was really trying to learn how to make a documentary that seemed just more fun than the ones I'd already been doing. And the ones I'd been doing were fun, and I enjoy what I do as a presenter, but it was just not, I just did not feel like it was me. And in all honesty as well, at this, just a few months before this sort of time, I was just wandering around a shop and I found Mariana Hotter's book in a store, and I was like, damn, this is like all the places I ever want to go in my life and do documentaries on. So I really just shot her an Instagram. No, I went onto her Instagram and I shot her a email. And she got back to me. It was literally just me saying, I really, really love what you do. And I really, really loved your book, and I read it and I was just really happy about it. And it's so exciting to me that you have a career like this, and will you please just be on my show? And she said yes. And I was very, obviously so grateful and thankful. I mean, what an incredible person to have on the show. She just fit right in. She just slots right in. And I'm just so happy with that. And as I say in the interview, like it shouldn't really like matter, or I shouldn't really have to say that it matters that she's a woman. But it's just like this extra thing where I was like, yes, just more women on the show, please. Because I felt so comfortable just with that. And there's like this this representation that really does matter for me. I mean, especially when I was growing up, I was watching a lot of comedy when I was a kid, and my comedy was certainly just Monty Python and um, all of those sorts of shows hanging around. I was introduced to a lot of shows from the 60s, and just by happenstance, a lot of those shows have men in them, and a lot of those shows, when they need women, they get the men to play the women, and I felt very kind of excluded until I found like Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, to be honest, and so that was a special moment for me. But then so when I was sort of tapping back into my comedy here, because I feel like I sort of tried to stop myself from this sort of thing, I was like, oh, I really want to sort of tap back into that in with this program bit by bit, and sort of kind of realizing that how important it was for women to be on screen. And as I was writing, I was hoping like, oh, I really hope there's just some young women out there that are just like, oh, she can do it, I can do it. Certainly possible, right? uh, it seems like a silly rant there, but yeah, to have Mary on was just Mary Ann on is just it's just something that was really like highly specifically important for me for that reason in particular. I'm sure she feels the same. When we shot this, I was seriously searching for these stones. It took us like half a half a day, about 4 hours to look for the stones because they are really difficult. Some of them are really obvious, and some of them are very, very difficult. So yeah. Anyways, the first time we looked round, anyway, the weather was kind of bad, and we shot the whole thing, and then I went home and I realized that the mic was not turned on when I did the whole thing. So basically, nearly all of the footage was like pointless. And it was a really big hit for me. I mean, being the first episode, I was like, wow, this is the first episode. And suddenly, like, I have no leg to stand on, and we need to go out and do it all over again. Is this a sign that I should not be doing this? It was confusing, actually. But I'm really, really glad to have Leo by my side, who was just like, okay, we'll go back out and do it all over again. Which I did not know how he did that, to be honest, but super happy with that. Okay, so coming into the Peak District, it was kind of obvious I was always going to do something on the Peak District because it's so close by, and this stone had been hanging around for a long time, and I really, I really enjoyed this section of making this episode because this was, for me, sort of the first dip into like wanting to explore comedy on screen, just like feeling it out as a presenter, which is just crossing the road, which is so silly. But for me, it was like really important. That was like, come on, come this way. And there is something I find really comical about making the audience wait and not delivering precisely on the beat. I like this whole, oh, you have to wait for the information because she's busy crossing the road. And I find that really silly and really funny. This take also took an incredibly long time to get right. Again, I was just sort of memorizing facts or what I wanted to say, and then I'd be trying to say it in front of the camera. And as obvious as that sounds, it was like one of the most difficult things. And it really, I mean, having done this for, I think I've done this for like 3 years or something now. Obviously, I've got better at it, but it was still very difficult. I've since gone to improv classes and it's helped me tremendously, but it was an incredibly difficult take because sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you do your vocal warm-ups and you put your makeup on and you stretch your body out a bit and you relax your facial muscles and you take your throat sweet and the camera flicks on, and sometimes even though you've done all of that, it's like there is something within you that is not a light. It's like a flame, right? So sometimes it can be a light, and sometimes it's like not there for the taking. And this is where a script helps, right? Because you can just rely on the script if you haven't got that whim, that that sort of improv mood going on. That was real, by the way. I did actually trip over. Ah, but yeah, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. And if you're improving like I was for the first two episodes, you can see, I mean, I can see that I'm really struggling with like it at times. Like, it's just this little feeling of like, oh shit, what am I going to say next? Like, how can I make this sound like it flows? Um, and I just found it really sort of nerve-wracking, if you will, just to this feeling of like, right, I have to make this sound really like entertaining. So, anyways, thank you for coming to this uh, commentary, and I hope that I get to see you in the next episode of the Middle of Nowhere commentary series, and I hope that you're having a nice day. And goodbye.